Thanks for listening to the Lunch and Learn with Dr. Barry, here to help educate, motivate, and put you on the right path to take control of your health through weekly discussions on topics in the medical field, public health arena, and in your community. And now your host, Dr. Barry.
And welcome to another episode of the Lunch and Learn with Dr. Barry. I'm your host, Dr. Barry, Pierre, your favorite board-certified internist, founder of drbarrypr.com, as well as the CEO of Pierre Medical Consulting, helping you empower yourself with better health with the #1 podcast for patient advocacy, affirmation, as well as education. This week, we bring you Sarah McGriff, who is going to be talking to us about mental health in the Black community. She's going to be talking to us about her new book. And more importantly, she's going to try to explain how she's able to balance being a full-time nurse, working during the pandemic, as well as writing a book, as well as having her own film company. Guys, this is a very, very busy person. I'm just excited for you to get a chance to listen to her and to kind of listen to her reason why she stresses the importance of mental health in community and why that was actually the motivation of her book, Mind Under Troubled Waters, right? So I'm excited for you. Again, like always, if you have not had a chance, remember to subscribe to the podcast, leave us a 5-star review, send this episode to 10 of your friends, tell them to subscribe, tell them to share. Appreciate you guys' support. This podcast is sponsored by the Lunch and Learn Community Merchandise Store, living out the motto, empower yourself for better health. At the store, you can get your favorite t-shirts, coffee mugs, even wristbands, and more. For a limited time, you can get 10% off your next purchase using the coupon code EMPOWER10. That's EMPOWER10, EMPOWER10. Just go to shop.drbarrypr.com to pick up your purchase and get 10% off today. And remember, 50% of your purchases will be donated to the 5-Star Scholarship Foundation, a nonprofit organization for high school students. All right, Lunch and Learn community, you just heard an amazing introduction for a person who I'm actually very interested to talk to. You guys know I have such an affinity for, authors. I have affinity for the discussion of mental health, even though me being, a physician, internal medicine physician who takes care of the medical side, I preach on a day-to-day basis that if, you don't take care of the mental, the physical means absolutely nothing. And that's because I really and truly believe that. So Sarah, first of all, thank you for joining, taking the time out to really enlighten us here on the Lunch and Learn.
Thank you. I appreciate you having me on.
Right. Give a little introduction of what's going on with you and how you doing. But in case someone skips, because I got listeners who like to skip right to the main episode, get right to the nitty gritty. What's something that someone may not know about you, just, off the first glimpse, or if I need to know who Sarah is, who's Sarah?
So, I'm a nurse. I've been a nurse. I've been in the medical field since 2003, and I've been a nurse since 2010. So I'm a cardiac nurse. That's what my specialty is. But just like you said, I'm also very interested and a strong advocate for people taking care of their mental health, because once the mind breaks down, then the whole body just kind of goes down with it. So I'm definitely I'm a big advocate for mental health, especially in our community. It's still a really big stigma, still very controversial to discuss. But I just really want to make light of everything. It's time. It's past time. It's past time to just get the resources and to just talk to our people about getting the help that they need for their mental weaknesses.
What I love that you say about that is because I think a lot of times we, especially us in the field, because we're kind of enriched in it, right? And where it's kind of around us, we may sometimes thinking that people have heard enough of it. But you're like, no. We still need to be kind of screaming from the rooftops, this importance of getting especially our own community, getting our community together, getting our mental health together. So I love that you're like, yeah, I've been in this, for a long time, but I still think a lot of people need to hear what I got to say.
Yes, that's true. And I mean, even in 2020, it's still controversial, especially, where I live at. And, just coming from African American background in our community, we're so stuck on, just having spiritual healing through, there's just, we have somebody to just be like, oh no, just pray about it. And, I plead the blood of Jesus on you. And there's nothing wrong with prayer. There's nothing wrong with seeking spiritual guidance. But God placed these people on earth. He placed, these people on earth for us to talk to and for us to speak to. And we need to access that. We need to be able to, come out of that stigma that, mental health is a joke, because a lot of people in our community think it's a joke. They think it's not real, and it's very real. And we see the effects of it. Our young men are just suffering. Our young women are suffering. They're suffering in silence, and, they're ridiculed for speaking up, or they're told not to speak up, or they're afraid to speak up because of the stigma behind mental health in our community. And we really need to break the mold from that and go beyond what we've always been taught, to suppress our emotions, suppress our feelings, to just basically ignore them. We need to stop that, because it's killing us.
And definitely more ways than one, for sure.
Yes.
And what I love it, because you mentioned the fact that, our young men and our young women, are being stifled. But I always tell people, those young women and young men, who become emotionally handicapped, right, because they don't, address their mental health related concerns, become old men and old women who become mentally handicapped from addressing their issues, their concerns, especially from a mental health basis. So it's not like it just affects the young, and when you get older, you kind of grow out of it. No, like if you don't, take care of what you need to take care of early. We have the adults and then the older population who still don't know how to deal with typical situations that you should be able to deal with. Right now, and speaking of an atypical situation, obviously, when we're recording this, we're getting close to the end of 2020. Like, how has this pandemic, right, really just kind of affected you and maybe your goals and issues? And then when we talk about the mental health, how do you think a role this pandemic has played as far as highlighting it, exacerbate? What do you think about that?
I really think this pandemic has highlighted and heightened people to come out and just finally recognize, everybody is just suffering through something. And, in this day and age, you need to be careful about how you talk to people, how you speak to people. Everybody's walking on eggshells right now. People are just ticking time bombs. You don't know what's going on in the person's life, what they're dealing with. I mean, just from the healthcare worker to your regular people, out here on the streets who unfortunately may have lost their jobs. A lot of people lost their jobs. A lot of people lost their homes. Their businesses are closing down. That takes a toll on you. And it's very important that we finally recognize, hey, we might be suffering from some depression, or we might be a little moody, or we just might be a little anxious just about, daily things that's going on in this pandemic. But, those little things can blow up into something more big if we don't recognize it and, get the help that we need. So it's very important. And as for me as a nurse, it's taken me on a whole nother level. I mean, nursing, just being in the healthcare itself is stressful enough, but this has really brought it to a whole nother level of, wow, just, it makes me feel, kind of like deal with my own, or come to terms with my own, mental weaknesses and how to, and that's why I just delve so much into, writing more, and just as an outlet. Some people don't have that outlet. They don't have a way to deal with their mental things. So they suffer in silence, or they find unconventional ways to do it instead of seeking help.
What's important, especially as I'm as a physician as well too, and I work in a hospital. I think one thing I tell people now is that this pandemic has really, I always was aware of my mortality, right? And now when you have this pandemic here, and we are working on the front lines, and we're going to where the sick people are. Like I remember, me and my family, we actually ended up like kind of making sure our wills and our life insurance and stuff like that was updated just in case, right? And that was like
Exactly.
a real thing. And so imagine you have, people across the world, across the states, who work in the field, who now have to kind of deal with that reality that they may be going to work and they may pick up a deadly disease from a patient that they're taking care of. And then they may bring that deadly disease back home.
Yes.
And so it's such a tailspin of, from the mental standpoint. So I 100% agree. I think if you have friends and family member who is unemployed, underemployed, business went down, all of these things that are happening, and you have what makes it worse is now you have to socially isolate, right? So you can't even be around close friends and family like you typically may be.
Yeah.
Right. So now you're alone, right? Having to deal with all of those emotions.
Mm-hmm.
So that's what Sarah was saying, like, hey, we got to like try to take care of this when we're young, because you have a lot of adults who don't know like how to deal with the stresses that they're dealing with, like today in December 2020, from this pandemic. So I 100% agree. It's we definitely have some work to do to get ourselves like really on board. Like, and like, so talk to us about, your issues as far as like how we should be advocating, right? Or just how important it is for us to just advocate in general.
Well, first of all, just advocating in general, we need to recognize the problem within our own community. We definitely need to make ourselves more aware that, mental health is real, is out there, it's more prevalent than what people want, that they perceive it to be. So we definitely need to recognize that. And then once we do that, we need to start advocating for ourselves, our own people. We need to encourage them to get the help they need. And as far as, when we stem out into the world, especially, I see it every day as a nurse. We have a lot of healthcare providers that don't look like us, who kind of don't take the issues of African Americans seriously, not only just physically, but mentally. They think we're faking our symptoms. They think we're not, they're just, drug seeking, or, it's really sad because we're so disadvantaged on a socioeconomic and health level. And as a nurse, it's important for me to be an advocate for my patients and to speak to these doctors on behalf of my patients, especially my African American patients, because they don't really get the resources and the help that they need. So it's important that we not only do we advocate for each other, that we try to bridge the understanding or the communication between African Americans and those who, are in the field taking care of us. We're here too. We exist, and we definitely need, that outreach. We need that help. We need that assistance. I mean, not just, on a mental level, we are so vulnerable when it comes to other things, birth rate, diabetes, heart disease, HIV, all of this other stuff. We're just at a socioeconomic and health disadvantage period overall. And so many of us are dying from it, and it's not, or suffering from it. And it doesn't have to be that way. And it should not be that way.
I love that, because, and again, we're talking about mental health, but I mean, you hit it right on the head. You pick a disease, we're falling behind on that as well too, right?
Yes.
Like you said, maternal health. You talked about obesity, diabetes, hypertension, HIV, like all of these, like we're always seems to be behind. And especially when you have to be an advocate for your patient, like I know, and I could see it in my patient's eyes. Like when I turn the corner and they realize I'm their doctor, mm-hmm. right? Like I could just tell, like it's a smile, it's the way they look, it's the way they perk up, because they like, all right, someone who looks like me is going to take care of me, mm-hmm. and is going to advocate for me. Right. And that's just, that's such a huge benefit, especially, we work in the hospital, so we catch people at their lowest, right? We catch people, when they're definitely not feeling good, mentally, physically, everything is going around them. And we're like the beacons of light that they typically get to see on a day-to-day basis. And when you're the beacon of light and you're advocating, for your patient, that's like, regardless of what medications I give, mentally, if you know that the person who's supposed to be taking care of you is actually taking care of you, that goes so much further. So I definitely love that. And you definitely hit on some of those stigmas that unfortunately, we suffer from. Right. Like it's, it's funny. I wrote a blog post about this, the aspect of prayer and mental health. And, the fact that, a lot of times we do use our spirituality to, mask our need for mental health care. Right. The fact that we just really don't believe in it. Right. Like, we just don't believe that, we have issues that we have, right? We don't believe that we're anxious. We don't believe that we're depressed, right? We don't believe that we have all of these things that are like, weighing down upon us, right? Because we can't physically see it. But we definitely feel the symptoms, right? We feel all the symptoms associated with it. But because we can't physically see it, or more importantly, like you noted, because our community doesn't necessarily come together around it, we don't want to seem weak around others.
Exactly.
So if I don't want to seem, if I don't want to seem weak around, my colleagues, my friends, I'm not going to say I get depressed sometimes, right? I'm not going to say I get anxious sometimes, right? I'm not going to say I get fearful sometimes, because that allows quote unquote weakness to slide in, and we don't want to be seen as weak.
Well, I'm glad you touched on that, because the whole weakness, not us want to be seen as weak, it really stems from generation, from slavery. When we were first brought over, we could not show emotion. We had to, be still or hold our emotions in when we saw these slave masters raping our women, lynching our men and stuff like that. So a lot of our emotional or mental, handicaps just come from, our ancestors, our days of slavery. And I mean, even now, if we show aggression or we show anger, then, we're automatically angry, we're aggressive, we're seen as a threat, especially Black men. And, with women, whenever Black women, if we voice something, then we're told that we have attitudes and that we're angry and all of this stuff. And so, that's just a generational, ancestral thing that has plagued our community for way too long. And that's not the case. It's just, for a lot of people in our community, it's a cry for help, and it's a help that we need that we don't always necessarily get.
Oof, I love it. We'll touch on it. So you talked about when even you yourself are starting to feel kind of the pressures with work and life and everything else, you kind of go to writing, right? Let's talk about your writing, and most importantly, I want to talk about your book. But like, what was it about writing that was allowed to be an outlet for you to kind of get your emotions, your frustrations, whatever that thing is that you get out there? What was it about writing that led you to that direction?
Thank you. I've always been an avid writer, ever since when I was a little girl. I've always wrote poetry, short stories. And, I picked up on it more once I became a nurse, just dealing with the everyday stress of being a nurse. I had to find an outlet of, a way of dealing with that, because some people find other ways. They may eat more, they may drink more. I didn't want to, fall into that category. So I started writing a whole lot more. And that's where that's why I decided to write my first book. And the inspiration for my book, Mind Under Troubled Waters, was pretty much based on a 29-year-old Black male who just found out he had stage 4 kidney disease and was having to go on dialysis. And he tried to commit suicide a couple of times. So that was my basis. And, this young man had no one to talk to. His family just, really didn't understand. doctors were, like I said, his caretaker pretty much dismissive of his, his grief, he just did not have a way to express how he felt. And all of it, and it just takes just sitting down, talking to someone. And I know that is very hard now these days, working in the nursing, working in the medical field. But you have to do it. It has to be done. And just recognizing that, like I said, these people are having mental issues. That's where I come in as a nurse. You have to be an advocate for your patients. You have to be an advocate for your patients when you work as a physician. So that's where, my thing for writing came. And that's how I wrote my first book, Minding on the Troubled Waters.
How long did it take you to write the book? I always wonder, because I always like to think about like that thought process that my authors are getting. Like, how long did it take you to like I'm gonna start now? Did it start with like I'm gonna start writing this book, or were you just kind of writing and all of a sudden it's like, this might be like a book here? Like, what was that mental process?
It took me 4 months to write it total. I was a little hesitant at first because I was scared. I actually reached out to another nurse who has her own publishing company. She's an author also. And, she just kind of told me, just don't think about it, just do it. You can't let fear hold you back. And that's kind of, I've always allowed fear of the unknown or, just uncertainty to hold me back. But this time I prayed about it and I didn't allow fear to hold me back. I just feel like God put this message in my heart for me to get out to other people. So it took me 4 months to write the book. And I wanted to do a fiction book, which I did because I wanted to target, Black male and female teenagers so that they can understand it on a more, personal level. But the book definitely deals with a lot of things that is going on in our community. So the book is about a young male basketball player who suffers from mental illness. He's like 15, 16 years old. He aspires to, he's conflicted. He wants to be a NBA player like his dad was, and he also wants to be a mental health counselor for children with disabilities because he has a brother in the story that suffers from autism. So he's conflicted with that, and between his overbearing father just hammering him about being a NBA player and other people, he feels the stress of dealing with that, and he doesn't know how to deal with that. So he finds ways to deal with that, which is, unconventional ways. And, like I was saying, if you don't talk to people about it, or if you try to reach out and dismiss, like he is in the book, mental illness just goes deeper and deeper into a stage where you're unable to control your emotions. So that's pretty much what's happened with him. And then not only do I, speak about mental illness in the book, I also talk about a lot of other stigmas that happen in African American community, particularly incest, rape, family members covering up rape.
Okay. Oh, you going in?
I went all in. I went all in, and so and to me, I really wanted to address that because even now, there are a lot of children who are being molested and sexually assaulted by family members, and it's being covered up. It's not, and these children are suffering in silence, and then this goes on into adulthood. Just like you said, if this is not addressed as a child, it goes into adulthood, and they reap the unfortunate benefits, the backlash, the hurt, and the pain from that. So I definitely wanted to address that. I just feel like we as a community, we need to start harboring, our family members, start making excuses for these people who prey on our children. And so that's pretty much what the book is about. And I wanted to, do it at a level so that, young people can understand and relate to it, and hopefully it'll help them to come or, address their own fears. And if they know someone that's suffering, encourage them to come out and, get the help that they need.
I think the most important thing, what I love is just the fact that, really acknowledging and, kind of, shouting that say, hey, you guys do not need to suffer in silence anymore. Right. This is like we are aware that depression is here. We are aware that anxiety is here. We're aware that, fear is here. And we want everyone to get help. Right. And there's no point to do it alone anymore. Like that's not the wave anymore.
Yeah, that's it.
And especially because most of us can't do it alone. Right. Because if it was common and okay to do it alone, we would just say like, all right, y'all, you'll be okay. But clearly, a lot of people aren't okay because a lot of people keep trying to do it alone. So I love that. It's like, like just talk about it. Just, tell a friend, tell somebody, right, who can help you get to the next level, right? We're not expecting people to be able to go run and, book their therapist appointment, but you got to be able to tell someone, right, who can give you some direction, right? And people are here, and not only are people are here to let you know, like, it's okay to feel the way that you're going to feel, right? And we're not gonna look down on you while doing so. So where can they find the book? Where can they find the book at? Like,
the book is on Amazon.com. You can just look, and I got a copy of it here, so I don't know if you can see that. So
okay, perfect. I love it. And then we're gonna make sure we put it in the show notes as well, so you guys will have a direct link to her book. Now, any more books? Is this one of many that's about to come?
This is one of many. Actually, yes. I'm kind of putting it on. I'm putting the book thing on hold for now because I just launched my film production company. Ooh. And so I'm actually working on a docu-series, a web series that I want to try to put out, for Black History Month next year, praying that everything works out. So I'm definitely going to be writing another book sooner than probably later than sooner. So yes, I'm working on that, but I'm so thankful. God has been so good to me, and I'm just thankful for everything.
So we got owner of a film production company. We got author. We got nurse. All right. So talk before I let you go. Talk to us about this film production company because I'm intrigued now. I want to know how'd you move into that direction?
Okay, so once I started, once I got into my writing, I got interested in the film production company, and I actually met up with a guy who owns a film production company here close to where I am, and I just wanted to come on the set of one of his shows just to see how it's ran, and he actually gave me the opportunity to write a couple of movie scripts for his company, Christian movie scripts. So I've done that, and we're in the process. We had started filming for one, but one of the actors then unfortunately passed away. So we're having to kind of put that on the shelf for now. And so that's what made me want to start my own film production company. So I did, and it's called Feel the Real Productions. And I want to use this as an opportunity for other, Black women or just minorities in particular to be able to have an outlet to produce their own or have their own, ideas and stuff come to life on film. So that's where I started at. And so my first docuseries that I'm going to be doing is called Damn Sis, You Can Still Clap. And it's pretty much about encouraging Black women. Black women just need to encourage each other. And, I'm just going to be focusing on stories about Black women, their achievements, what they've had to overcome, and how we as a community can come together to support each other and not be jealous of each other and not be envious of each other, because everybody out here can, eat. They can get the bag. They can get all of that. There's no need to be envious or jealous of the next person because they're doing their thing. So I really wanted to do that. So I'm thankful that, and I'm just praying that everything works out for the greater of the people.
Oh yes, I'm gonna pray. I'm sending prayers your way for sure.
Thank you.
And so of course I gotta ask, because this is a question I always get asked, like, hey, Dr. Barry, how do you find time to do this, and still do your job in healthcare? So how are you finding time to be able to balance such an amazing career in nursing? And
it's just gotta. It's hard, but I've just gotten to the point where just just get it done. Life is too short to be, trying to, be nervous or be scared. I know there are some people that are nervous and scared about, fulfilling their dreams, but, just waiting around to do something, time passes by. Time doesn't wait for anybody. So I'm just getting it done. I'm just going forward, and whatever, whatever I slip up on or wherever I make a mistake, it's a learning experience for me so that, I can do better and, not make those same mistakes again. But I'm just doing it. I'm just getting everything done.
Yes. I'm clapping for you. So before I let you go, you got to let the people know how they can find you, where they can follow you, where can they, obviously we already talked about where they get the book, but let's say where they can get the book, where the film production, give us all your promotional details now. That way we can go and take, and obviously remember listeners, I'm going to, everything she says, I'm going to put in the show notes anyways, but I want you to hear, where you can follow her and, support her. Cause this is a very valiant effort. She's holding the candle on one end, taking care of patients on the front lines during this pandemic. And on the other end, she says, that's great, but it's not fulfilling. Right. And I want to be fulfilled. Right. And because I want to be fulfilled, I got to help. And I got to tell people like, hey, mental health is real. Take care of your mental health. And I got to be able to bring those ideas that you may have to the film. So she's like, she wants to get it all because she realizes that to be fully fulfilled, I need to do it all to kind of help our community. So we're loving her for that. So where can people find you? Drop your info.
Okay. So they can follow me on Instagram at Sarah Carmel. And I also have a page for my production company. It's Feel the Real, and it's Real, REEL Productions. Feel the Real Productions. They can follow me on Twitter under s.carmel. That's my main page. They can follow my film page on Instagram. Twitter also is Feel the Real Productions on Twitter. And I do have a Facebook page, Sarah Carmel McGriff, and working on my website right now, just trying to get everything done with that. And on Amazon, they can find my book there under my name or under the name of the book, Mind Under Troubled Waters.
I love it. And again, Sarah, first of all, thank you for really highlighting such an important topic, which is mental health in our community. But more importantly, thank you for taking on, the role of provider in our hospitals and taking care of the sickest of the sick folks here on the front lines. But thank you for saying that's not enough. And I want to help, bring our community up. And in doing so, I'm going to spend, some extra time, right? It's going to be less sleep for me, but in the end, I know it's going to be worth it. So again, I want to, especially from my end, just thank you for the bottom of my heart for that.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it. It's not easy, but the grace of God is just keeping me here so far. Now I'm thankful for it.
Thank you for coming to the end of the episode. It is yours truly, Dr. Barry Pierre. I want to give my undying thanks to you for your support. Just getting to the end of the episode means that you at least enjoyed today's episode. Hope you were empowered by today's episode. Please remember to share this episode with at least 2 people that you know that would be greatly affected if they did not listen to today's episode. And if you have not already done so, subscribe to the podcast. Leave us a 5-star review, especially on Apple Podcasts or wherever you can leave a review. Leave a review there because your support is so valuable for what we're doing here on the Lynch Learn and everything with Pierre Medical Consulting. And if you have not done so, go ahead and join the listserv. To join the listserv is very easy. Just grab your phone right now. I'll pause. Join the listserv. You want to text Lunch Learn Pod. This is all going to be one word, Lunch Learn Pod, to 44222. And you'll be on the listserv. You'll know exactly when new episodes are coming out. You'll know about new episodes before they actually come out, because I usually tell my listserv members, hey, this is what I'm working on. These are the guests that you should expect to hear for the week on. Thanks, guys. You have a blessed day, and I'm going to see you guys next week.